introductions so that we know who's talking. So I'll start with me. Hopefully the majority of you know me. I'm Jack Ellum. I'm strategic theme lead for prosperity, and in that job role and sort of unusual job title means I pick up the things of economic development, business engagement, a little bit on tourism, and a few other strands that fall under the same thing. And my role is to try and ensure that the district is as prosperous as possible. So that means about attracting new businesses to the area, trying to support those that we already have, and also trying to capitalise on the sort of special things that the district has in terms of its visitor economy, our very much valued high streets and independent businesses. And this project has been part of that, this Keep It Local initiative, and also the work that we're doing with the North Essex Economic Board, which I'll come on to when we reach Click It Local. The other main strand of the way we work is through our strategic partnership with Sense of Place. And that gives me the opportunity to hand over to Charlie, who perhaps you could introduce yourself, Charlie, and just touch on a little bit of how we've worked over the last, well, it's been a few years, but perhaps focus on most recent history in terms of Sense of Place and its role with the council. But you'll have to turn yourself off mute, Charlie.
Great, thanks, Jack. I got scared when you started taping me, so I immediately went on mute. Yes, I think many of you know me, chairman of Sense of Place, Charlie Fillingham. Sense of Place is a concept more than anything. It really is about the fact that we all know that in certain initiatives, if businesses get together with council and other stakeholders, especially those who might have purse strings, it is great how the coming and the bringing together of initiatives kind of end up with a much bigger and greater result. Councils certainly have embraced the idea as they have been cut back more and more in terms of funds. So it's a concept that is used quite many councils now throughout the country. We have worked on a number of initiatives, hopefully encouraging and bringing people together. I mean, certainly looking at aspects such as skills as apprenticeships, whereby we know that the only way to run schemes like that is about bringing people together. The idea of Click It Local or Keep It Local is certainly something that's very dear, certainly to our hearts, whereby we know that if we can come up with a initiative, a branding, an idea that really covers the whole of the independent local businesses, it'll much more likely to find funding and support, not just from customers, but actually from funders throughout the whole district. So Sense of Place is all about that. It's all about trying to encourage to bring people together and coming up with the sum of the parts, which is much greater. I think that really covers me.
Yeah, thank you, Charlie. So this meeting, to some extent, is the first of a joint meetings between the Maldon Business Board and the very newly formed Burnham Business Board, and I'm pleased to see we've got some amount of crossover between us. We know that working with our local businesses is going to be vital to us, and I think it's fair to say, unless you'd like to take over at this point, Alison, as chair of the Maldon Business Board, I think we're very proud of the work that's been done with the Maldon Group so far, and its membership has been as positive as it can be during a pandemic, and has achieved a number of things that simply would not have been anywhere near possible if it were just the council trying to do things off our own back. I wouldn't want to take away from businesses. They probably could have done it on their own, but I hope we were helpful. So it's shown the strength of that partnership approach, and I'm really hoping that we can try and facilitate the same within Burnham. Some really active membership, and thank you for I think 4 people I had over the weekend who expressed their interest in the Burnham Business Board. So that's exciting to know that it's a potentially a forum that people will find valuable, or certainly interesting at this stage. Just to give an outline of how these are structured, because I know sometimes it can be a little confusing. So sense of place, as well as being its concept, is a board in its own right, and they're the district level group of business leaders that we talk to and consult with, and try and initiate projects through. They have been the steering board essentially to the creation of Keep It Local, and they've worked with us on a number of things to try and bring forward initiatives for the district. Underneath that, we have a need for more localized, focused efforts, and that's where the Maldon Business Board has focused around the town of Maldon, and the Burnham Business Board will focus around Burnham, but without drawing strong lines. So we know that areas such as the rest of the Dengie will, of course, link in economically with the function of how well the town prospers. So just as a nod, there is still gaps in both boards of how we want to engage with businesses. In Maldon, of course, things like ensuring our links in with the Causeway of Wick Hill, of other employment sites. And in Burnham, we've only just got started, and we've already identified things around their industrial parks, their sailing communities, and other areas that lend to the economic strengths of the area. So we envisage a Maldon District Business Network underneath Sense of Place, and these two boards that we've supported to come about already have been the starting point for that. Next one on our list is probably something like a rural group, if anyone's got particular rural interests, but that's the next one on my list. So I hope that's a sensible introduction to the structure. Both groups have their own terms of reference, their own. We're certainly a chairman for Maldon at the moment. We've put a request out for someone to put their hand up for chairman of Burnham, of the business board, that is, of course, and we'll be working with them to stabilise them as we have the Maldon group. Both will be working towards bringing forward an action plan. Some of those actions are identified for Maldon, and we've got ideas that have already been raised through the Burnham group of what the businesses there would like to see happen. And we feel that's a really strong way forward. Certainly that's been really productive. I hope Charlie would agree in how we've managed to get things progressed through the Sense of Place board. That, without being insulting to it, was previously a good meetup and a good chat to think about the problems, but without a delivery mechanism to make those solutions come forward. And that gives me a good opportunity to just introduce Ashley, in the top corner of my screen, but could be anywhere for yours. Ashley is our Sense of Place coordinator. Grant funded, so no cost to the taxpayer, which is exciting, or at least the Maldon taxpayers. But Ashley supports Charlie and I in enabling the Sense of Place network and both the Maldon and the Burnham Business Board, and is a good point of contact for the businesses. She also maintains our presence in terms of LinkedIn and the business group that we use on there to try and share the best information out there. And I think everyone knows that over the last year, the sheer volume of information that's being shared, and digging through that to find what's important to you in your business is quite a hard task, and we tried to do our best to share that information. I'll pause just to give myself a break. Do we have any questions on Sense of Place, the Maldon District Business Network, and the structure we're trying to enable and bring forward? I think most people are fairly well up to speed. Certainly members of the Maldon board have probably heard me iterate some version of that several times. Okay, good. Well, the first project we want to talk about and give some time to discuss, because there are certain bits of it that are underway and we're going to be kicking off today, and there are other bits that we've still got some shaping to do. So Keep It Local is an initiative spurred by our partnership with Sense of Place, and through membership of the Maldon Business Board, we've been able to shape that into what we think is a really productive and exciting project. We were really fortunate to secure grant funding for the project in the order of about £18,000, which isn't huge, but it does give us ability to get a few things done to try and support local and focused on independent business. And this is really focused around our high streets and ensuring they are sustainable for the future, that they adapt as necessary to the changing environment, but we continue to have that really excellent base of independent retail, of independent restaurants and galleries and public services and personal services and all those things that really make our high streets are a hub of the community and a really valued part of our overall economy. Keep It Local had a number of strands as it was going through and being scoped and shaped, but the bits that have been funded, we're really pleased about. So the first one I want to talk about is the training, which training I want to use in a fairly loose way. I think of it perhaps more around sort of consultancy or mentoring for businesses, and we've got there's two strands to that, as identified by the survey we did earlier last year, which came out on top as the two main things that the businesses need at this time, and that's around web and online presence, and also around digital marketing, as two obviously fairly new. I mean, they have been around for quite a while, but in terms of our high streets, they are the young ones. So they were both identified by the businesses that we surveyed last year as strands that they'd want to be supported in, and through securing a modest amount of money, we've been able to commission 2 experts in those fields, and their time will be available for businesses locally. We've set up an application form, so I can talk you through that process in a moment. But if I may, I'd like to introduce Louise and Tim. And perhaps Louise, you'd like to go first and just introduce yourself and what you've been commissioned to do.
Okay. Hi, can you hear me okay, everybody? Yep, successfully unmuted myself. Hi, I'm Louise Ashby, and for those of you who don't know me, I've spent a 20-year career working in ad agencies and design studios and brand consultancies. And I've looked after, during that time, clients who have been anything from startups to SMEs to big corporates and public sector organisations and charities. So I've kind of gathered quite an insight to how these organisations operate and the various outlooks for, as far as sort of marketing and communications goes. And I now work for myself as an independent brand and marketing consultant. And I would say the heart of my advice really is the premise that every single action that you take within your organisation kind of contributes towards your brand, from how you train your people to how you present your products and services to how you speak to your customers, and of course that includes your online presence and how you interact through all the social media platforms that are available. And I've been commissioned to provide a kind of package of support to local businesses during this tricky time in terms of social media and online presence. As we all know, every business operates with its own set of circumstances and its own set of challenges. So I think that we've kind of come to the agreement that the best way to approach this is to be entirely flexible and to set up kind of few sessions with the businesses individually to work out what their actual requirements are initially, and kind of set up brand brief interviews for them. And once we set up task list, if you like, of what they need and get to the bottom of what their businesses are about. Then I would go away, do a bit of desk research, and that would be the second phase. Come up with a kind of report looking at competitors, seeing what they're doing, seeing what the market trends are, going back to report that, and then providing a session where any specific training can be delivered, if you like. So it's very much not a one size fits all. It depends on what the individual business's challenges are and what support they need. So I'm pretty flexible on what I can offer for them. Does that give you a round idea?
Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Louise. So I think just summarising some of that. So essentially, we'll be taking applications through a form from any local business. Although I should point out that Keep It Local is focused around high street customer facing businesses. But depending on the level of demand we see, any business can apply through an application form, which I'm about to post into the link. And depending on what they see as their particular level of need, either Louise with her skills and expertise in digital marketing, or Tim, who will come to introduce himself in a moment, can be handed to that company to give them a package of support focused around what their needs are. And for us, this was really important, this sort of needs-based support. So it isn't what you click on for a link with Google or with Facebook or anything like that. This is tailored to what you need, where you see your aspirations as a business in terms of digital marketing. And then Louise will assist you in identifying what those gaps and opportunities are in terms of getting you there on that journey. So Tim, would you like to introduce yourself in the same way?
Yeah, thanks, Jack. You'll have to forgive me. I've got a stinking cold, unfortunately. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm Tim. I'm the IT manager of Internet Assist. We are a Maldon-based IT services company. I've actually been working for Internet Assist now for over 18 years, and we've been based in Maldon for that time. Through a lot of discussions and meetings over the many years now with the Maldon Business Board and various other things, we've seen in the last year that a lot of businesses unfortunately have had to shut where their online presence wasn't already in place coming up to this obviously pandemic time. What we're hoping to be able to help people now is to a bit much like what Louisa said, actually, in the flexibility, in that there'll be some people who won't have any websites, there'll be some people who will have a basic website, or there'll be some people that already have an e-commerce platform and are already potentially selling their products online. What we'd like to be able to do and offer is an overview and a report on where that company currently is, and take into account where the company feels they are trying to get to, and we can then help and advise to try and get them towards being able to make more of a thing about what they're trying to do online. Now, at the moment, I'm aware of some of the companies in Maldon. They're doing a lot on social media, but there's quite a wide scape of people who aren't even on social media, who potentially aren't being utilized to sell products to. So in a basic format, we will look at where the company is right now, and then try and make some advice on where they can go and what they can do. And if anything, it'll also just give that company, if they've already got a website and they've already got some sort of level of position on Google and other search engines, it'll give them an idea of where they are now as a snapshot. And it might be that actually they better look at it and go, well, we're making good headway of when we started, or actually we're not getting far enough along in what we're hoping to achieve. So yeah, that's it. In a nutshell, we're going to be flexible around what the person has, because we don't know what the company may or may not have in place at the moment. So hopefully we can, even if it's a small amount of advice or a small amount of training, or even if it's, you know, not necessarily about their website, you know, we can offer IT service help to help their business move along, even if it's just to try and even bring in some IT within the business itself. That's what we're hoping to help with.
Yeah, thank you, Tim. A question in the chat there from Amanda. No, because you're on the key, that's fine. I think with both keys in both Maldon and Burnham, I think we would always understand them as part of the overall high street offer. And in terms of facing, no, it's just about primarily it's about customer facing, to be able to give businesses who might normally only reach their customer across a counter that supports to enrich their offer through the digital thing. So I think your application would be looked upon perfectly fine. Yeah, I think it's a really interesting way. I'm quite pleased with the way we've scoped this and put this together, because I think for a lot of businesses, you've probably seen there is an enormous amount of online webinars and training sessions and things like that that are available mainly to an open group or a class of 500 at a time or something like that. This is really about you. This is really about you and your business. And the time's been commissioned with Louise and with Tim. And so the time that they can give you has a rough limit to it, you know, a few hours. But they should be able to point you in the right direction, show you what you might need. And I think I'm really hopeful that will be helpful to you. So the form I've posted there in the group chat, and of course we'll share this more widely now. We wanted this to be the kickoff to the applications, but it doesn't preclude anyone who couldn't join us today. So that form will be there. There's a few questions in there that we'll use to prioritize in case we are heavily oversubscribed in the number of sessions we've commissioned. Roughly, it's about 20 businesses each. But if we are heavily oversubscribed, we may be forced to prioritize. But to be honest, I would much rather show that we're oversubscribed and find some more money from somewhere else, which will be the other use for that data set. The intention there is that Ashley and I will review those and pass the contact details directly on to Tim and Louise, who will take your business forward on there. And then all we ask really in return is that Louise and Tim will be providing us a report, and we'll ask you to fill out a shortish form again, just to show how productive that's been for you. And we're hoping it's a really useful tool in two areas that are critical to modern day business. We recognise there's quite an overlap between what is web and online and what is digital marketing. I think both Tim, Louise, and I'm hoping you'd both say you've got the expertise to probably support in an all-round capacity. But where there is a challenge or where there is an overlap, then we'll allocate each business to one of you or the other, and perhaps you two can talk if there's an area that you do have a gap in. Thank you. So yeah, we will be sharing this. The great strength of the board is that you all have your own networks as well. So when we push this out through our social media, we'll share it with you in terms of the links, and so we can hope to reach as many businesses as possible. Many of you you know, perhaps the old school who would also be on the ground, and you're very welcome just to point this out to people and apply. I recognise that applying for online training through an online form is always a little bit ironic, but I think most people can access forms nowadays. If there is someone that isn't, then we might have to work out how we reach them by face-to-face anyway. Good. Is there any questions on the training element of Keep It Local? You're all going to force me to talk straight for 2 hours, aren't you? I'll just reiterate that this project's fairly small in its money. We have grander ideas, and we actually have a larger sum of money to talk about a bit later this afternoon. But it would be impossible without the work that we've done with Centre Place and with the business board. It's the strength of being able to show a need in the area through our engagement with business. I just felt like reiterating that because it is what gives this sort of partnership approach its strength, and there will be further funds coming.
Jack, would it be sensible for me to kind of introduce Saltmarsh Deli and talk about my experiences, certainly with support I've received, certainly from Tim, which has been very strong.
Happy to do that. Yes,
talk about it?
That's no problem, Charlie. Go ahead.
So one of the initiatives that Centre Place looked at, just under a year ago, was the idea of trying to find a way of supporting local food and drink producers. We have a very large number of local food producers and drink producers in the area, and most of them have been badly impacted by the pandemic, in as much that, as we know, they have a vast amount of sales through the hospitality sector and a significant exposure because they're not big enough or large enough as brands to have a foothold in the retail multiples, who have obviously enjoyed quite a prosperous time during the pandemic. So we came up with the idea about setting up Saltmarsh Deli, which was basically an online grocery web platform, one-stop shop as much as we possibly could make it, for all the products that are produced in the area. Now, obviously, as you can imagine, the idea of a one-stop shop just in the immediate Maldon district was always going to be quite a challenge. And therefore, what we've tried to do is to widen the definition of local into the rest of the Essex. And in some cases where we certainly haven't got Essex producers, actually encourage producers from Suffolk to come and support us. And that's been, frankly, a large support. So Saltmarsh Deli now is an online grocery platform delivering to the doorstep right across Essex, finding customers right across Essex. As we know, many people come from outside the Maldon district, come down to Maldon for their holidays or just the weekend trip. And they're very interested in trying to buy and secure products that come from local producers down here. And we have, at the moment, nearly 40 producers and getting closer and closer to about 400 product lines. So quite a wide range, not a complete one-stop shop, and we've got a lot of work to do to increase that. We hope to add a number of products in the coming months to a wide. But it has been a very interesting launch. And the most important thing has been obviously getting the website right. And Tim has done a fantastic job in building us an online grocery platform at a very economic cost, which a lot of people would, certainly our customers tell us, is very customer facing and very efficient and effective. And that's been a significant support to the business. We have done all sorts of things in terms of social media marketing as well as traditional marketing. And the one thing we are grateful, having got the business case together, is recently secure some funding to provide for a driver, certainly within the first year, from Magnox, because Magnox saw it as a real bonus to be trying to bring all the local producers together onto one platform and really drive sales. So it's been a great initiative. A lot of hard work's gone into it. Ashley's been a good support for us as well in terms of her understanding about social media. And as I said, it is the product of many businesses coming together to give us the right level of support. When I say many businesses, it's not just Tim, but other businesses. There are producers behind us who have been very accommodating and really encouraging us to try to take this forward. We've been trading for 3 months. We're up to way over 200 customers, and the list keeps growing. Our big challenge in this case is getting our awareness going. So I am taking probably a little bit extra time just to enforce the awareness with all of you, because it's all about word of mouth at the end of the day. So, and that's been our success. But that, thanks, I think, is a really true product of what businesses coming together really means.
Thanks, Charlie. And I think it's worth pointing out that certainly from Sense of Place and from Magnox, who are the funder of both part funder of both initiatives. They see them as linked as our efforts to try and support local produce and business. Linking on to the second bit of keep it local. So this is a bit that we scoped up as if we were going to run a sort of pre-Christmas campaign, and obviously fairly glad that we didn't launch that at the time, because that wouldn't have been a very productive time to welcome back and celebrate independent shops on the high street. But we have another part of the funding that we've got, and that's going to go towards commissioning a marketing campaign. So normally the council run its own campaigns out of its own channels, but on this occasion we're going to be commissioning it through someone else. We haven't yet gone to tender yet, so we'll be sharing that with local media companies who may want to be able to support us in the campaign and be paid to do so. So that will be a large mass media campaign, essentially celebrating all that the district has to offer, and celebrating and supporting the great value there is in shopping local and keeping their business local, using local retailers to do their business, businesses working together locally as well. And I think we've seen strands of this in government messaging, and there's a number of ones that are around at a CELEP level and at a county level, trying to support this message of keeping things local, not just to reduce transmission and reduce people travelling, but also the great value that it brings to communities to have more sustainable businesses and more money spent locally. And while I wouldn't want to necessarily pull money away from Tesco, because they are a good and big employer around the area, I've no problem taking money out of Amazon's pockets. And I think that's the real target that we've got here, that we need to encourage people to value what we've got on our high streets and with our independent businesses, and understand that spend with them means a lot, and means not only their own job and income and security, but means that we continue to have the high street businesses and high street community that we're all so fond of. So I had hoped that this time we would have been out to tender, but we had to reshape it. 1, because of Christmas, 2, because of lockdown, 3, and then 3, because of Click It Local, because we're going to obviously work and synergize with the campaign and the efforts they're going to make in promotion. But essentially we have some campaign assets worked up, and we're going to work with the organisation that we choose through our tender process to try and push this message with local residents, to try and encourage people to return to their high streets, feel safe about doing so, and continue to spend their money locally where it can have the biggest impact, and have the greatest outcomes for them. I can't remember the figure off the top of my head. Maybe Charlie will remember it. But what's the thing? If you spend £1 locally, 30 pence of it stays local. If you spend it internationally, a penny goes. Only a penny stays locally. There's great economic value in local spend. Are you going to tell me what it is, Charlie?
Off the top of my head, I can't remember. There's all sorts of different statistics, of which, if you apply what's called the multiplier effect, which is the economic idea that if you employ someone, they go and buy food, products and services themselves, and therefore that's a multiple effect. So often people think that it's 3 to 4 times in terms of net monies that are kept in the area. The statistic I always like is that if you actually go and spend £100, I always use the word down at Tesco, and Jack's absolutely right. We don't really want to harangue the local large employer, but if you go and spend £100 down local large multiple, you're more likely to see £30 more go outside the area than if you would do if you were shopping at a local independent store. So it's a significant amount, and it's all about that dynamic, certainly.
So we'll be commissioning that. We're going to ensure that promotion, that campaign, aligns well with Click It Local and the efforts of local businesses as well. And also, we're hoping it will align well with what's envisaged with Fiverfest. And Alison, do you want to say anything on that at this time? I know I've just caught you unaware, haven't I?
About Fiverfest?
Yes.
Yeah. So Fiverfest, I don't even know when we had it last year before lockdown. Lou, can you remember? August maybe? Can't remember, but yeah, we did Fiverfest last year, which essentially is a national campaign run by a company called Totally Locally, and Totally Locally promote shopping within your high street, and it comes back to what Charlie and Jack have just said about spending £5 in your local high street and the impact that can have, which is, you know, a greater impact than had you gone and spent it at one of the bigger suppliers. So yeah, Fiverfest, we want to make it bigger and better this year. Last year, Mike Bloomfield and myself, Mike was creative at the time, we ran it, but actually we need more help this year. So if anybody in Maldon wants to jump on the bandwagon and help me out, then feel free to get in touch. And it would be good to run it in Burnham as well. So if anybody from the Burnham Business Board wants to speak to me about how we got that up and running, then I'd be happy to have a chat. So yeah, that's going to be on the 12th to the 26th of June this year.
Yeah, so we envisage that the spend and the Keep It Local campaign will still be running at that point, run alongside that. So one of the things we're sort of talking about now is the sort of hero products or hero services that we're going to be promoting. So obviously focused initially around the high streets and the independent businesses, but then of course we've got Click It Local, we've got Saltmarsh Deli, we've got Fiverfest. There's a number of really big stories that we want to use the Keep It Local campaign and Keep It Local money to really celebrate. I think sometimes it's useful to have those real statement pieces within any sort of marketing, the things that we're trying to talk about, rather than just saying, don't you remember it was lovely in 2019, please come back, saying about that we're coming back bigger and better and stronger, please support us. We're also talking about running it so that it coincides with the reopening of steps 2, 3, and 4 in the roadmap. So that will be really exciting as we see very shortly pubs and non-essential retail opening, and then indoor hospitality, and then finally the release of restrictions, assuming we stick to timetable. So we'll use that campaign to punctuate each one of those activities, and we're hoping to bring forward some free parking in Maldon to support the activities there, so that we can have a nice safe ways to bring people back to the high street, and then a few other ideas we've talked about, perhaps some temporary closures to the high streets to try and create more space in what is both of them have challenges, but Maldon is particularly tight for space. Great. Is there any questions on the Keep It Local campaign? Lovely, thank you. Okay, well, we're hoping to be joined by the Click It Local team fairly shortly, and so I'm going to slightly rejig the agenda, or at least the version I'm looking at, because we've got another potentially quite large story to share. So we'll go on to this, and then you'll forgive me if I have to switch over when the team from Click It Local are able to join us, hopefully in about 15 minutes. So we've been notified by which I call it MHCLG, which Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government, that out of the Welcome Back Fund, that organisation that businesses or individuals may have seen has been announced, although we haven't been prioritised, as I think only tendering was prioritised out of the whole the larger pot, but we have been notified that we should be getting around £122,000 from the Welcome Back Fund, And the intention of that is to, among other things, is to boost tourism, improve green spaces, provide more outdoor seating areas, markets, food stalls, pop-ups, and the list goes on a little bit. I think they just sort of threw it out there, but the idea is to give people more space and safer options to reunite with family and friends. And for us, we see this very much around our high streets and our parks, and perhaps the smaller high streets, community spaces in places like Southminster and Tollesbury and things. So we will be talking with parish councillors. This only came to us late last week, and we thought we'd missed out entirely, but I think we're pleased that MHCLG have recognised that there are smaller and particularly coastal towns that face particular challenges and also have great opportunities to kickstart the economy, particularly this year with the amount of domestic tourism we can expect to see in the area. So the intention there is to boost the look and feel of high streets, investing in street parking or parks or green spaces and seating areas. We can run publicity campaigns and hold events like street markets and food festivals, supporting local business, and also slightly more dull things of more signage and floor markings and floor stickers, which I'm sure everyone loves the floor stickers. But it is focused around high streets and space for people. So one of the things that we will do is review the plans that have been created by, or the plans that are under the sense of place plan, but also it gives us an opportunity here for me to say again, get your thinking caps on, and if there are proposals that you've always wanted to do, this should not be all the money that there is. 122,000 does sound like a lot, but you'd be surprised how quickly it goes if it's spread between the parishes. But if there is ideas and campaigns that businesses want to see happen, there could be funding available. So we have a few minutes before Click It Local join us. Is there anything that people have had this burning idea about, or what do businesses need out there at the moment? What is the crying need to be able to support recovery?
Can I just ask a question of clarification, Jack, because it obviously is good news. Is the money going to be related, as you say, to the almost, shall I say, the visitor experience? Obviously, we want to encourage people to come back to the high street, but are we looking at initiatives that inevitably lead people to visit Burnham and visit Maldon as a place that they may go and enjoy and share, and end up spending more time on the high street? I'm just thinking about the linkage, say, with Prom Park and the high street, and an initiative that kind of bring the two together. What we want to do is to see the two come together more, and there be more linkage, and people to stay basically longer when they come. Would you say it was more related to that, or are we specifically looking at projects that are high street related?
I think the reality is the funding has come to us quite flexibly and quickly. So you can imagine essentially every district and town, particularly coastal area, has had the same letter with the same guidance. So we envisage there will be more guidance to follow, but some areas don't have that wonderful ability to link the park and the high street. Some areas do. So there is still a slight question on exactly what MHCLG expect us to do with this money and what is within our discretion and what isn't. But for us, no, that's very much aligned with our thinking. It supports what's identified in the Maldon Central Area Master Plan, for instance, and the thinking that goes behind that. So yeah, that is one of the areas that we see as a suitable use of the money to try and support that linkage between the leisure quarter and the high street. But obviously your businesses will be familiar with this. The government announce these things in a press conference and then take sometimes days, sometimes weeks to actually tell us how it's all going to work. But we have been told what this is going to focus on, but it's a page and a half letter, and it does seem to be supportive of tourism, of welcoming people back. But I think it's wide enough that we could come up with good ideas and they would fit. And I should point out, it's not a grant. Sorry, it's not it's been given to us, or will be being given to us, so we don't have to apply for it, which has been the case throughout a lot of this. That these schemes come out and we have to very hastily pull together a proposal and a fully costed business case, which is a lot of effort sometimes. Louise, I think you were first with your hand up.
Thank you. Am I off mute? Yes, I am. I was just going to ask about the restart grants, because I know that question keeps popping up on our business group, because we haven't heard anything yet. And I know a lot of people will probably need that money to invest in stock in order to restart, rather than, you know, get it later on. Yeah,
let me just check if I can find the latest on that. Last time I checked, we was over a week ago. Let me come back to that. I'll get you an answer in just a moment.
Okay, thank you.
Michael, is there?
Yeah, hi. Is there any news on the small grant so the parking payback can be launched?
Yeah, in fact, the meeting I was going to have with regards to that has clashed with today, so I don't have the news now. But yeah, I'm aware that's one that you want to fund through this. But we did secure it earlier before Christmas, but I need to check it's still there. So yeah, apologies on that one.
Kind of important to launch that at the same time as kind of reopening the high streets and everything, because I think it's another thing that will incentivise people to come to Maldon and help on like a loyalty card and towards their parking fee.
Yeah, no, that's fine. It's simply been a case of everything else that's been on to get a clear answer on that one. I'll come back to you separately on that, Michael.
Okay, thanks for that.
Louise, on restart grant, no, it is still that we haven't opened it. I was just looking at our web page, but I'll see if I can chase up with the team and see if they've got an update on where they are with that.
Yeah, it'd be really useful if we could take that information back, because I know obviously everyone's trying to get ready to open, and we've got less than a week now until we're hopefully opening.
Yeah, I was just going to check the guidance because I can't remember if that can be paid now, can't it?
Yeah, it was from the 1st of April, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think I've apologised this a couple of times. The government tends to tell us these things exist, but they tell us at the same time they tell you, and as you can imagine, it's quite convincing the council to simply pay out £6,000 to someone, or 200 someone's, is not something that happens overnight. But yes, you're right, it's open from the 1st of April. I'll see if we got an update for you this week. Is
it a separate application process, do you know, Jack, or is it just because we're on the system already?
That's what they were looking at. Yeah, so I don't know that's the answer to that. Okay. When last I was able to talk to the team, it was last week, and the guidance had only just been released. So I don't know what the application process is going to be, or whether it'll be simply a roll on like the local restrictions grants have been.
Okay.
Sorry. Alison.
I was just going to ask, in terms of the welcome back grant that you've mentioned, what's the kind of timescale on that you expect one to receive the money and then for it to be spent by? So, i.e., I think the issue we have at the moment is all businesses are thinking about is literally opening their doors, and they're not thinking about the bigger picture of what can we get involved in and what events would help us. It's a really difficult question to answer, I think, because everybody's minds are just, I think, on just getting excited to reopen. Yeah, so in terms of the money, it might not be that there's any ideas now that the high streets will come up with, but they could come up with them at a later stage. Do you think that money would still be there in terms of, you know, I don't know, if we're looking towards sort of Christmas or into the new year, or is it something we need to think about now that's got kind of a bit of a time limit on to spend?
It's pretty much the exact question we went to first of all, and we all dug around in all the guidance we could try and find to see where the spend date was, and we don't know. We believe it's just going to be given to us, and there'll be a reporting mechanism over potentially the next year or year and a half in terms of what spend we are. But the honest answer is we don't know. When we first had the meeting, someone chirped up and suggested that they saw that it had to be spent by June this year, and we're just like, you can't. How can you do that? It's not possible. And that we had to talk to each parish council before we did that. And you're like, no, it won't be possible to get the reviews of the business community and every parish council. So the answer is, you're right. It will heavily depend on what the spend timetable is. We know that some of them have been extremely short-lived in terms of grants we've received for community benefit, in which where they've got a 3-month spend timetable, and most projects don't get off the ground within 3 months. We believe this one will be longer, but the honest answer is all we have is a 1.5-page letter from MHCLG. So yeah, my reason for raising it here was really to try and start that thought process of what things could be done. Yeah. But I really do sympathise. I know that all businesses will they will need to focus 100% of their efforts and their time and attention on how they get their own businesses up and running, and how they continue to do that safely while restrictions and requirements and everything is in place.
Okay, thank you.
But yeah, just as a final call, if there is this burning idea for the community or the high street or something that's always wanted to get off the ground, it is an opportunity to bring that, and I would just bring that through the Maldon or the Burnham Business Board, or indeed if we do have anyone representing outside of those areas, then through Sense of Place. Good. Is there any other questions that we've got on welcome back? Not that obviously most of that was just more questions about it, but any other questions on welcome back grants at this time? No. Okay. Well, I'm rather hoping we have Click It Local join us very shortly. But I think until they do, if I can invite, if there's any other points that anyone else felt they wanted to raise. Charlie.
Yeah, I just really wanted to go on from the comments about this welcome funding that you've just mentioned. I suppose the point I would raise, Jack, is that if we're going to get the most effective return for that investment, one of the best ways we can do that is to work with these business groups, the Maldon and the Burnham business groups, so that we can coordinate the efforts in the right sort of way, rather than do a kind of first come first served basis. Would you not agree, Jack?
Yeah, all of the projects that would be identified with it would go through essentially some sort of form of scoring matrix to identify their benefits and beneficiaries and the outputs they would do. One of the things we spoke about when we literally had a half-hour meeting before we broke up for Easter on this was how can this fund be used to leverage the best outputs? And obviously there's that sort of thinking around match funding of whether this can be used, or perhaps even small amounts of it can be used to leverage greater projects that are being thought about or being delivered elsewhere. A kind of an example of that is what Michael was asking a moment ago, in that actually his group and his contacts have done the bulk of the work around the parking payback scheme. The amount he wants, and I keep being avoided avoiding it is actually very small to get the project off the ground. But yeah, that type of project is very a very positive use of this type of fund. Great. Well, as if they knew we'd just. Oh, Michael, you've still got your hand up, but
yeah, just one question for you, Jack, and to Alison Gray. As you know, I arrange the Christmas event every year, and hopefully now, if everything goes well with in June, we will get the green light, or I will give the green light for the Christmas market to go ahead. Now, one of my biggest problems I have is raising sponsorships, and every year I have a target of about £10,000 to raise, and I'm pretty close to that. But I've been doing some research, and other towns, the actual shopkeepers make a contribution towards the actual Christmas event. And why I've asked Alison to kind of be listening on this one as well, is she's with her large business group, or, you know, all the shopkeepers. It is quite normal, because it is hard work getting the sponsorship. And every year, town council say to me, "Okay, Michael, you know, what's the budget this year?" Well, I've managed to negotiate on the Christmas lights and got it down from £15,000 to £13,000, which we pay from the town council's money. I'm just wondering, Alison, what your thoughts are, which is normal in other towns, as it is an event for the whole town and it generates revenue for all the businesses, whether you think within your people they would make a contribution. I know it's bad timing because I know you're open at the moment. So let's say, hypothetically, we discuss this in June or July when everyone's tills are rattling again.
Yeah, I don't think, I mean, I've contributed before, and I don't see why people wouldn't want to contribute, providing they decide to stay open on the evening. But I think it's about not one size fits all. So whether or not you could look at, you know, a payment, I don't know, based on size of property. I don't know how you would do it, but it would seem it wouldn't be realistic, for instance, for Mrs. Salisbury's to pay the same as a shop like myself, you know. So I think if you could come up with some kind of structure, maybe even based on business rates, I don't know, or maybe it probably needs to go even lower than that, because a lot of bigger companies still fall into the rate relief. Yeah, I can't see. I can't
location, Alison, location has a part in that as well, doesn't it? Because obviously, if you're slap bang at the top of the middle of the high street, you're going to get loads of people, and if you're off to the side, you're not necessarily going to get so many. So yeah, that might be a factor too.
And we'll have the issue that last year, and I think the year before, there was quite a few complaints from a number of businesses where food stalls were put outside their tea rooms. So I think they'd have to have some kind of, you know, you'll pay this fee, but it gives you, this is what we guarantee will not happen this time. And, you know, because nobody's going to want to pay a fee and then find that they've, you know, a tea room's got a coffee stand outside it. So, yeah, I think if it can be seen to work for them, I don't see that people would object. But I think it's just about this year keeping the fee low.
Yeah, I mean, basically any donation really helps, but perhaps once we get the green light in June, then perhaps we can discuss this with your group, see anything to support the town, because it is hard work, and the town do rely on it, the sponsorship. So okay, well, as we've got people waiting in line now, we'll come back, and perhaps once we get the green light, Alison, I'll come back and we can have a chat on one-to-one on that.
Yeah,
okay,
perfect.
thank you.
Cool.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Alison. You might want to look at the note Amanda put as perhaps a clever way to put it, to suggest that a percentage of the takings during that period, during that evening, could be identified for the following year. Might be a novel way to do that, and obviously it allows the business to be to have a in-time discussion with you about what sort of percentage is reasonable over that, because some businesses have a very high level of cost involved in staying open, whereas some would want to do it to be part of the community event that it is.
Yeah, I think that's a difficult one, because you're asking businesses to share what their takings are, and I don't think you'll find many businesses want to do that.
I'll leave it at that.
That's a tricky one, but
Okay.
yeah, we could definitely do something. So yeah.
Good. Well, timing worked out quite well because we've come to the end of the things that I wanted to talk about, and I could do with a break from talking. So, if I may I introduce and Steve, who have joined us now from Click It Local. Are you there and able to talk to us, guys?
We are. Yeah, can you hear us?
We can hear you, yes, and we can now see you, Steve.
Excellent.
Hello, Steve. Thanks for
Good, hi.
making your journey in good time into London.
No, that's fine.
we
I
had
was
to
like,
arrange.
luckily I didn't hit lots of traffic, so I arrived with 15 minutes to spare, so absolutely fine.
Great stuff. Steve, if I just briefly introduce you to the group you're talking to now. So we've met before. I'm Jack Allen from the council, and there's also my colleague Ashley with us. With us here is a collection of members who make up part of the Maldon Business Board and the Burnham Business Board as our two main dwellings in the district. And we also put this invite out publicly, so we've got a few others who have kindly agreed to join us here, all with you as the headliner, Steve. So
there we go. No pressure.
Yeah.
Cool.
So over to you, Steve. I haven't really done an introduction. Perhaps at the end I'll just tell people how Click It Local has come about with the council. But I think these are your potential customers. Each of them represents a bit of a network in their own right. So we'll assist you in spreading your news. Alison, your hand's up. Is that for now, or is that from a? And you're muted. That's all right. To you then, Steve.
Okay, cool. No worries. Well, I'll do some quick introductions, and then I've got a deck that I'll share. I'm not sure how long I've got, but I'll share a deck with you and give you a quick rundown of kind of what Click It Local is, how it works, etc. But there's so you've got myself, Steve. So I'm one of the two founders of Click It Local. There's also Emma on the line, who works in conjunction with the councils that we're working with across Essex. And then also Cavalli, who's on the call, who basically is dealing with the store relations, new business and support within your area, basically. So you've got three of us on the call. I will, if that's okay, I'll run through a kind of a 10-minute presentation just for anyone who doesn't know what Click It Local is and how it works. I'll kind of run you through that, and then I'm sure there'll be some time for some questions as well. So let me just share my screen. A second. Sorry, I'm just trying to find the share screen. Okay, here we go. Perfect. Can everyone see that okay?
Yes.
Yeah, great. Let me just get it. Screen. Perfect. There we go. So yes, so Click It Local marketplace for independent shops. So we launched in Cambridge 11 months ago now, really with the sole intention of looking at, how do we empower independent businesses on, local high streets to compete with the likes of Amazon, supermarkets, and other large online retailers. So for us, there were two things that we wanted to kind of create in doing that. And I think the reasons that individuals maybe shop on those platforms are, one, you have a massive choice of products on one place. So, on one website, or certainly, in any of the stores. So massive choice, and then also same day, next day delivery or delivery to your door within a week with supermarkets. So there's two aspects really: massive choice and convenient delivery to your door of all of those items. So for us, it was about creating those two elements and bringing those two elements in a very similar way to shoppers, but driven by independent businesses. So the idea really is, by pulling all independent businesses together, within a 20-30 mile radius, basically means that we are able to give shoppers a really large choice of products right through, from food to fashion to plants, a real mixture of products. Yeah, that kind of comes in with our aim as a business is get 70% of UK independent shops online delivered same day on the same website. So it becomes, as it grows, a real contender for some of those big online retailers, and really ultimately stronger together as independent businesses. So we obviously combine the convenience of online shopping and same day delivery with the economic and environmental benefits of shopping local. So obviously lower emissions in terms of delivery. So obviously we're trying to keep our deliveries as local as possible. Where we can in the city centres, we're using bikes, and we're starting to look at how we start to integrate electric vehicles in more rural areas. Generally, I think there's an advantage with working with independent businesses. Generally, there's less packaging. So obviously we're pushing to also assist with that where we can. And then obviously local stronger economy. We want shoppers to spend their money locally to retain and keep the economy as strong as possible. So like I said, making shopping local easier, faster, more convenient, and more socially responsible than the likes of Amazon. So I'll run through how it works really for shoppers, shops, and then how delivery works. So from a shopper's point of view, you're able to visit clickitlocal.co.uk. You will pop in your postcode or your location, and essentially what it will do is bring up all the stores that are available in your area. Now it will start specifically local to you, so it will be the most local stores to you will come up first, followed by the surrounding areas further down. You're able to shop in kind of 3 different ways, and it's really to replicate what consumer behavior is used to with some of those larger online platforms. So you can shop by shop. So when you go, you'll have a list of all the shops. You can go in and you can add the various products to your basket. You can shop by category, so a bit like you would maybe do on a supermarket. You could go to food and drink, or you could go to fashion and shop by category, add everything to the basket. Or you can just search, like maybe you might do on Amazon. You search for the product, and then again you can add it to the basket. As a shopper, you add everything from multiple retailers. You pay in one go, and then you get one consolidated same day or next day delivery, depending on what time you order. And then how it works for shops. So shops can set up their stores really easily through our dashboard. You're able to just click a link at the bottom of the website. Also obviously Cavalli in your case will be there to support wherever needed. Now there's a 7.5% fee. Apart from where we're launching in Essex, actually the council are subsidising that fee. So for the first 6 months, it's a 0% fee, so there is no fee for stores. And then from a delivery point of view, so again, as I mentioned, like one of the key elements is we set up an infrastructure when we go into an area so that we're able to, one, with our website, offer a large choice with all the retailers, but secondly to that, offer a consolidated delivery service. So once someone's placed their order, essentially what we do, if they've ordered from 5 different shops, we will essentially collect all of those items, consolidate it and deliver it to their door. And the delivery cost is basically between £3 to £6, depending on how many retailers shoppers order from, but it won't go any higher than 6. So you could order from 10 retailers and it will still cost you £6. This is a little bit just on how that consolidation process actually works. So for any customers that order before 1 p.m. Can get same day delivery. If it's after 1, then it will be next day delivery. But what happens at 1 o'clock, our couriers then basically go to all of the stores in the areas. They collect between 1 and 2 p.m. They then consolidate. They bring those back to basically our local consolidation hub. And in regards to Essex, we're having one consolidation hub in Chelmsford and another in Colchester. So basically, everything goes to the consolidation hub that gets consolidated there, and then it gets delivered between 3 and 7 p.m. Just kind of top line key features, but for us, obviously, thousands of products, large range of stores, multi-category marketplace. So choice across multiple categories, multi-store consolidation, same day local delivery, and subscriptions is another thing that we offer. So customers are able to set up their own subscriptions to any store on any sort of regularity if the store allows it. So you have a real choice of items that you can subscribe to. In terms of growth, it's grown a lot over the last kind of 11 months as we've grown. And then number of stores. So we're actually about 1,250 stores now, 250 of which are across Essex so far in the areas that we're in. And in terms of choice of products, so it's a real wide variety. Again, we're actually up to about kind of 20,000-ish products of choice at the moment. So yeah, massive choice of products. And then I'll obviously share this deck with you after, so you can have a read after. But here's an example of some of the kinds of retailers that we work with. This is a lady called Small and Green. She's got a business, Small and Green, that are based in Cambridge. She's a market trader. She works from home the rest of the time, and she sells plants. She's a relatively new business. She launched about 2 months before COVID. So the platform's worked really well for her. So she's kind of got over 30k of revenue so far, which is great. When compared to kind of more conventional high street shop, long-standing shop in Cambridge, been there for a long period of time with a very loyal customer base, and again, it's worked really well for them as an additional means of revenue. Because I think that's the key, is that obviously we want your local customers and people within the local area to be able to obviously shop from the shop, but it's also about opening you up wider afield to offer same-day delivery for a much wider area, which basically means there's a whole load more customers that maybe wouldn't usually shop from you as a retailer, but actually now can shop from you really easy and get fast delivery. So I think that's what it's all about, increasing your revenues and adding additional revenue on top of your base level of kind of local customer as well. We're stronger together. Something that's really important when we're launching in any areas is the kind of the social media that we do in conjunction with the stores. The closer we work with the stores, the more the stores are on board and we're promoting alongside, the better it works for the stores. So it's a real key thing that we're generating and creating offers to help kind of push customers accordingly. We're doing a whole load of paid advertising in the background with kind of Instagram and Facebook in those areas for the specific stores, and then kind of social media campaigns that we work with in conjunction with each store, creating content. So yeah, I'm going to stop there if that's okay. So I'm going to stop sharing. Does that work? Am I back now? Am I back? Yep, I'm back. Cool.
Thank you, Steve.
So sorry if that was too quick. Hopefully I tried to, I'm quite used to going through it now, so hopefully it wasn't too quick and everything made sense.
Thank you, Steve. Well, I've just put our latest news article into the chat for anyone who wants to pick that up and see how it's working. I mean, for us, this is quite an exciting opportunity and partnership. This is a project we're working with the North Essex Economic Board, which is a partnership between ourselves, Chelmsford, Tendering, Braintree, Colchester. I think that's it. So we're going to be bringing Click It Local to all of those areas. I think Steve's probably been on the call with half of those areas over the last few days, no doubt, probably a couple this morning. Am I right in saying Chelmsford and Colchester launched?
Yes, exactly. So Chelmsford launched. So actually, Uttlesford we launched pre-Christmas, but then absolutely. So Chelmsford last week, and then we've got Colchester and Braintree this week. You guys on the 20th, and then Tendering on the 27th of April. So most of Essex, over the next few weeks, basically.
And we really want to see this as additional string to our high street retailers' bow. This is really about the way we're going to push this is to those independent businesses focused on the high street. Excitingly, we orders through Click It Local for us consolidate to Colchester, unless that's changed in the last few days. And that means that anyone from the Braintree, Colchester or Tendering districts, which equates to 230,000 households, can order next day or same day through Click It Local from the independent stores of Maldon, and obviously, and of course across the district. And obviously we don't have quite as big a business base as some of our bigger cousins in Colchester and Braintree and Chelmsford, but we do well with our local independent businesses and our entrepreneurs. So we're really hoping this is a good way to support them. If you're willing, Steve, I'll hand over to some questions.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, fire away.
Great stuff. Alison.
Hi, Steve.
Hi, how you doing?
Good, thanks. I signed up, I think last week, just putting my initial details of my business. Am I right in saying it looked like as a shop we have to upload our products onto your website? Is that right?
You do, yeah, absolutely. So you do upload your products. Now you can add, 10 products or 100 products, but it obviously, yes, takes every time. But yeah, absolutely, you upload your products. We haven't got a way yet to kind of integrate because there's so many different retail systems that everybody is using. It's a little bit of a challenge for us to kind of link in with those yet. The plan will be to do so. But absolutely right, you'll upload your products that you've got at the moment. You can choose whether you just want to have the ability to set your items, a quantity, if you like. You can obviously set quantities for all your items, or you can choose just to have kind of an in or out of stock slider bar. Different things work for different businesses.
So if we chose, for instance, to upload 6 of an item, does the Click It Local website enable that to kind of count down and do an inventory?
You just need to let us know if you want an inventory, because basically half of our retailers do and half don't. So we basically, it's set to not have it, but if you want to have it, just let us know and we can just turn it on for you basically. And then you can set a number. Sometimes the challenge is for retailers is you might be selling in multiple areas. So you might be selling online, through your shop. So setting a quantity can sometimes be challenging because it might be misleading if you go out of stock somewhere else, and that's sometimes the balance.
And I had a question from somebody that was quite interested but couldn't attend today. They are a tea room. Now, they currently offer nationwide delivery on afternoon teas, but they like the idea of being part of the Click It Local. However, their agreement they already have with the public is that they will deliver before 11 o'clock in the morning. So I'm assuming that the times are kind of quite set and they have to be.
Yeah, it's a challenge. So what, because it's afternoon teas, they obviously want to deliver at 11, so you've got it for the afternoon basically. Yeah, it's a tough one because, yeah, you're absolutely right, it is quite a restricted time window, and that's because we're kind of doing the consolidation. So for us, like, the economies of scale as deliveries grow work because we do that process in the day between those certain times. Obviously people can get delivery in the evening and it would be tomorrow, but obviously depending on what it is will depend whether that works or not. So the answer is kind of no, we can't guarantee a pre 11 a.m. delivery.
And on that note, with businesses that do have fresh produce, they wanted to get on board. So you've got the cheese company, so I'm assuming you've got some sort of setup that when it gets to your depot, it's refrigerated, or how does that work?
Yeah, so we basically, we have cooler boxes we use when we need it. Obviously, we've got about a 3-hour window from the point that they're collected to when they're delivered. Now, a lot of the retailers we work with, even the ones that offer cool items, so that the cheese company do national next day delivery, for example, and various ones of the kind of the meat and fish companies that we work with also do deliveries and actually can do. So a lot have packaging that allows it to at least last for a period of 3 to 4 hours. So whilst we obviously, do our best to have refrigerated items in cooler boxes, we also request our retailers kind of make sure they package it in a way that it will last for that 3 to 4 hour window as well.
Okay. Last question from me. Is there any limit on size or weight or anything like that? Yeah.
So we actually haven't had this problem yet, where it's come up a couple of times in questions. We can't deliver sofas. But that, honestly, we haven't really had the problem with furniture or really large items so far. We deliver quite big plants. We've delivered, compost from garden centres. Someone ordered like 6 or 7 bags. So there is you know, we don't generally get really large items on there. We can facilitate it to a point, but yeah, we haven't put a set weight limit or size limit because it's not been a problem yet.
Is it the bike you pick up on? The bike that was in the pictures?
Depends on the area. So we use bikes in the city centres, so like Colchester, Chelmsford, Cambridge. Once we start to get maybe slightly more rural or smaller market towns, then we'll often do it then with a vehicle at that point, just because of based on what we're doing, and just depends on the landscape basically of where we are.
Okay, thank you. That's all from me.
No worries.
Thank you, Alison. Anyone else for some questions?
Yeah, my
Mary.
hand's back.
Oh,
Hi.
sorry. Could I go to Mary, please, first?
Yeah. Hi. I hope I haven't been distracting you in the background because I'm actually packing for
We
our.
see you're busy, but that's fine.
Yeah, a really busy weekend, thank God. Right, just about the delivery charges. Can you kind of tell me a little bit more about that? You mentioned between £3 and £6.
Yeah. That's fine. So basically, if you went online and you just ordered from one retailer, it would basically be £3. If you order from, go on.
So when I, as a customer, I will, I paid the £3 for delivery.
Yes. So the customers pay for delivery. Exactly that. Yeah. So customers are paying for delivery. But if I order from one shop, it will cost me £3. It will cost £1 for each additional retailer, but it will cap out at £6. So with the idea that we want customers to order from as many shops as possible, and we don't want them to feel like the delivery cost is going to get too expensive. So between 3 and 6 is quite good, that then you can order from a limited number of retailers.
Okay, and so then after the first 6 months, then the fee to us is 7.5%.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly that. Yeah. And the delivery is by the customer. That's correct.
Right.
Sorry, can I chip in there, Steve? Because I think I'm right in saying it's 7.5%, but there's also the 1.4 and the 20p. Just to make sure everyone's clear.
There's a card
transaction fee.
Yeah, there's a card transaction fee that we get charged like you would in a shop anyway, basically. So that transaction fee is there basically. But
just make sure that's on top of the 7.5%. Yeah. So just for clarity, it's 7.5%, which is Click It Local's fee. At 1.4 is the transaction fee, and there's a 20p Stripe fee.
Exactly.
And for the first 6 months, it's just that 1.4 plus 20p. After the 6 months, or the time in which we're commissioning the service, and Click It Local move to a sustainable position within the area, then it's the 7.5.
Yeah, because that's quite interesting about that delivery charge, because that was one of the things I was a little bit concerned by, because we actually offer free delivery within Maldon and Heybridge. We started at the beginning of the pandemic last year. Obviously, then we charge outside of that area. And I was a little bit concerned that, somebody said, well, why do I have to pay the Emporium, or £3 to get something from the Emporium? And actually, they can deliver free. However, the fact that, as you say, you can collect from more and more shops, and it's going to be £3 for whatever, or £6, I think that kind of then makes it probably viable for us as well. Yes, that's
and a wide area as well. I think that's the other thing, because I guess you can offer free delivery in a very close proximity, but not to such a wide area every single day, and that's where the advantage is.
That's really helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Michael, please.
Yeah. First of all, before I'm going to say what I'm going to say, I think it's a very brilliant concept. However, I sound like a politician now, don't I? Don't you think...
You are a politician, Michael.
Yeah, I am. Well, I am Michael Pellman, so I am an MP, I suppose. But we've been discussing through Maldon Business Board, etc., Sense of Place, about increasing the footfall into the high streets, basically. I think this is taking it away from the high street, because we have to remember that we have nearly 35 to 40 eating and drinking places in the high street. So we need to encourage people into the high street, not only to go and visit the shops, but to keep the refreshment side vibrant. And I can see this, that it's actually going to take away the footfall of the town. And also, the other question is maybe to the shopkeepers is that after the 6 months, it works out nearly that you're going to pay 10%. Does that mean that the shopkeepers will be increasing their prices by 10%, which would make them uncompetitive to people like Amazon and eBay?
Cool.
Yeah.
That's fine. So I'll touch on your first one to start with. So I mean, our whole model is about keeping the independent high street there and viable, and people able to stay on those high streets and continue to do business. I think the thing to consider is that the footfall is exceptionally important to retain, but the pressure for high streets has been there for the past 10 years from online retail. And whilst increasing footfall is super important, there is also the reality that there is going to continually be the pressure from online. So actually empowering those independents to offer it, not going, well, they shouldn't offer it, but we should just get more footfall, means that what's going to happen is all of those customers that are shopping online due to convenience will shop online without those independents. So the whole point is drive additional revenue to those businesses on those local high streets from a wider area. So it's actually, if they can still get their footfall and their local business, but actually capture more of everybody's shopping basket that happens online at the moment with Amazons and supermarket, then that's what it does for them. It gives them additional revenue than what they would get from their footfall. And if they don't have that, and that footfall or online ordering increases, then I think that's where there's a balance with that. So ours is all about keeping them there, but supplying additional revenue.
Okay, and now what about the case of perhaps one of the shop people like Addison or someone could say then that after 6 months, if you keep within the scheme, it's going to hypothetically cost you another 10%. Are you willing to, do you mean that you have to increase your prices to cover that 10%, or are you willing to lose 10% off of your profit to keep it within the scheme?
Can I just add one thing, but I know someone else is going to answer it, is on additional revenue. So I think that's the important thing to highlight, is that there is a percentage for extra revenue coming into the business. It's not like it's 10% off of all the business you're getting of people coming into your shop at the moment. So it's 10% on what you're getting extra. So I think that's
on that side, and I've been through this of running various businesses, but turnover is great, but you still got to make a profit. You can do $1 million a year and make 5,000, so it's important that I know that with some of the schemes I've tried to work, even trying to give an additional 5% discount from some of the shopkeepers has been difficult because they have to hold on to their margins.
Of
so
course.
perhaps one of the shopkeepers could come in on that, if you don't mind, Jack.
No, I think that's fair. I do see the point. But yeah, one of the shopkeepers want to come in on that matter of go on then, Louise.
I'm happy to jump in on that. Because I just want to add what Mike said at the beginning, actually, that it is a fantastic scheme and I love the idea of it. I think it's great. I think to broaden advertising, your reach on advertising is fantastic. For me personally, and I suspect this might be an issue for a few people, is yes, our margins are quite tight. So initially it seemed wonderful because obviously the costs are low. It's quite a jump then to consider afterwards. Now, my delivery costs are very similar to what you're offering. Same as Mary, we do free local delivery, actually up to within 10 miles of the shop, which is quite a broad radius. And then after that, it goes up in stages. The first sort of range is £5. Postage is usually less than £5 anyway, nationally. So it's not much different. So for me, I'm looking at it as an advertising thing. So to jump up with the costs, yes, I probably would have to put my prices up on the Click It local site, which wouldn't work with all my other website and the prices I'm offering in shop, because obviously I've got to be consistent across the board. My biggest concern at the moment is the fact that, as Alison asked you about loading things onto the website, you have to add them on individually. I've got about between 1,200 and 1,500 lines of stock. And it took me a solid month working almost full time to get my website up and running in November. Luckily, we were in lockdown, so I had all the time in the world to do it. So it was a fantastic opportunity. But going forwards, ordinarily, I wouldn't have that resource within the day to do that. And also I keep my stock levels quite low because I have to. I can't carry huge amounts of everything. So trying to manage that across 3 sites, my own website, the shop, and the Click It Local website as well, would be almost impossible to manage, I think. So they're my main concerns.
I think, Steve, you could probably address a couple of them.
Yeah, I mean, certainly. So stock wise, sorry, my kids are in the background. They are being quiet. But
we're enjoying it. It's fine.
All right. At least it's not like, I don't know if you've seen the one like online where they're doing a news feed and they like push their kid out. But
yeah.
So kind of just.
I like the pick. Is that a pickle Rick?
Yeah, I don't know what it is, to be honest. Maybe it is.
That's very.
There you go.
It's pickle Rick. It's very cool.
There you go. Sorry, yeah, stock. So and uploading products. So whilst we don't have a bulk upload on the dashboard at the moment, we are able to do it in the background. So like if you have 1,200 products and you're able to do some sort of export from your existing program that you're using, whether it's Shopify or something else, we can import that. You just need to supply it to us and we'll import that. Obviously, we want to get as many products on as possible. The stock levels, though, is definitely a challenge because so many people use different platforms. At some point, we will, integrate with, the Shopifys of the world, Magento, so that they can track. But I imagine that you might also use a different system in your store as well as what you use on your website at the moment. I don't know if do they track each other at the moment or not? No. So that's basically, that's the real challenge at the moment, is so many systems don't track each other. We actually in the future would like to get it to the point that we can, but there is a limit. We can't do it instantly. We can't link to everyone. So yeah, there's a balance, but we can upload all the products for you.
Can I add some questions?
Alison.
So in terms of the delivery, if somebody, because it covers Colchester and different areas outside of Maldon, can a customer order from 5 different locations within that £6? So
yeah, they absolutely can.
Okay, so somebody could literally order a dress from Colchester, some soil from Maldon, and it would all go within that £6.
Yeah, exactly that.
And then my second question is, what happens if an order goes missing? Who's responsible for the cost of that?
I mean, if it's if the order goes missing and it's obviously you've handed it over and we've got it, then it's us, and then we obviously cover the cost of that item. Obviously, there's a few different reasons, but if something gets damaged in transit, again, that's our responsibility. So those, if it's in our hands and it's our responsibility, then we cover the cost of that. Obviously, if a customer breaks it, after it's been handed over, then that's them. Or if there's, I don't know, a fault with the product, then obviously that kind of is the retailer side, but and then it will be returned. So there's a few things when it comes to returns. Obviously, if it's our responsibility, we'll return it and obviously cover the cost of that item. If the customer wants to return it, they get given the option to either drop it off at the store or drop it off our local consolidation hub, and then we'll get it back to you, which is a bit like Amazon. You drop it off at wherever the drop-off point is for you. Or if it's a manufacturing issue, or I don't know, it was the wrong product that was sent out, then we will collect it, or it can get dropped off. But then obviously that's then on the store to organise that bit, or we can do it for them. But yeah. And
what do you do with the deliveries? So in terms of, I guess it's your own staff doing the deliveries.
It is, yeah.
Do you knock and leave on a doorstep, or do you leave a note? How does all of that work?
Yeah, so basically all of our delivery drivers, so when we employ delivery drivers locally, so in this instance across the Essex district, they all kind of are on the outskirts. They all kind of drive to the consolidation hub, which is Colchester. They collect on the way from the stores, they consolidate there, and then everything goes back out. They're almost like driving home beyond that point, and then they obviously just kind of drop off as they go.
Okay.
Sorry, what was the other point to your question?
What if somebody's not home? So a bit like,
sorry, that was it.
Amazon will drop it on your doorstep, whereas UPS didn't,
Yeah. So we will do the same. So you can leave a note when you order. So when you order, you can leave like a delivery note. So if it's like, I've got a shed, please leave it in the shed, then we'll obviously get that message and we'll do it accordingly. The delivery drivers are allowed to leave it with potentially with a neighbour or a space that they see fit if you're not available. Every delivery driver has the contact details, so they can call the customer as well. So if they can't get hold of you, they will try calling the customer. If they can leave it somewhere, they'll take a photo, let us know, our customer services, and then we'll obviously let the customer know. If there's nowhere to leave it safely, then they won't. They'll obviously bring it back, and we'll try and contact the customer, and if not, return it to the store. But that doesn't happen very often, to be honest.
Okay.
I assume, Steve, because it's same day or next day, the customer knows that they're going to be receiving that order. It's a lot more obvious than people who place the order and it says sometime in the next 3 weeks.
Yes.
And you have to you wait around at home all day.
Exactly.
Your delivery slot is well known at the time of ordering, and there's also quite a small window, isn't it?
It is, and actually something we're adding on as well in the background is like a bit like you get it with DPD, where it might tell you what number slot you are. So there's 20, the driver's got 20 deliveries today, and you're number 15, and it will let you know. So we're going to start adding that in, so there'll be kind of more regular updates for customers on when their delivery is coming. For us, that minimises customer services, because like sometimes the most questions we get are, when is my order coming? What times are going to arrive? Even if there's a window, so it helps us basically.
Okay. Jack, can
Alison,
I
yeah, go on. Oh, okay.
I've got a 3:15 appointment, so I need to shoot. Steve, thank you. I definitely think it's worth looking into this a little bit further. It's interesting. I think Lou would agree, as another high street shop owner, and Mary. So anything I need to catch up on, can I do that at a later date? And go.
I think to summarise, the next step for people is there's the link in our press release, and will be shared with the minutes of this meeting. The next step, guys, is to sign up or find more information. But to sign up if you're interested. Louise, the point about the number of products, I was going to suggest, I don't think you're going to want all your products listed on Click It Local, but of course there will be ones that work and ones that don't. Things with very small margins that you hold for different reasons, for convenience to the customer, that aren't going to necessarily work through this model. But there will be ones that, you know, you're going to be opened up to 10 times the amount of households. If you do district-wide delivery at the moment, that's around 30,000 or around 27,000. It's going to be 230,000 households that will be able to order for same-day delivery through this site. And yeah, just do your top 10 top sellers, I guess, guys, and see how it works. That would be my approach.
Just before I go, Steve, because I need to shoot. Do you have any businesses that you think would be willing to chat to us about how it's worked for them? And
yeah, more than happy to. So yeah, I'll try and select like a mixture of businesses. Obviously, depending on what people do, it will obviously be a mixture. So yes, I'll pick a mixture of businesses that have been on the platform for a while, and can, you know, give everyone an insight. Absolutely fine.
Perfect, thank you. Right, I'm going to shoot. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much.
Bye.
Bye, Alison. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Okay, guys. Well, I hope that's been really helpful. I think there's quite a number of things that have come up there, and a good number of initiatives that we've done. Steve or Emma, is there any final comment from you guys? Are you all happy with your slots and your pitch?
Absolutely. You know, for us, if there's any questions, just get in contact. We'll